Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. Today's episode, we're going to finish off, or I should say this episode maybe, we're going to finish off basically with a little bit of an example of play here, including an air strike. Now, since the last time I saw you, we had a couple of turns, a couple of things have happened here. First of all, down here, the Japanese suddenly got active on the Port Moresby line, so now they have brought some of their forces down to Rabaul, and we've discovered that the covering force down there has a couple of aircraft carriers. Now, I know strictly speaking the covering force is not supposed to have any, but again, part of the reason I play games is to play with history, to play with what if. So I've allowed the covering force to have some aircraft carriers, and that's just my personal choice and opinion. In the meantime, well, that's been going on here. As you can see, things have gotten sporty at Midway. The Japanese invasion force is on the way. The main body's out front. I don't know if they're just like looking to bait an attack there and such, or trying to engage in a surface engagement if they can get close enough, like a night thing, whatever. And then up north here at the Aleutian Islands, we've got all that action going on there, including what's going to be the focus at the start of our video here, an airstrike. And also down here, just to note, I have moved the 17th Task Force into position to try and deal with Carrier Strike Force 1, which I don't know still what's there, but I do know it's 4 flat tops from the number of counters. So that is the situation right now. So what I'm going to do for this final video is I want to go through an airstrike to show you how that works with the ships and stuff. Surface engagements are pretty straightforward, so I probably won't be able to get into one of those. Those kind of are a lot later, and it seems to be whenever it's a little more lopsided for one side or the other. So we'll do this airstrike. We'll do another turn if we have the chance, and we'll kind of go from there. So now to do this airstrike, I'm going to go ahead and move us over to here where I've got things set up. And here we've got on my table our little battle going on. Let me pull out just a little bit. So I've got my Task Force 16. We spotted the carrier force that was Carrier Strike Force 2 on the Aleutians mission. And if you remember from one of the previous episodes, that's the Kaga, the Hiryu, and the Zuyohu. And of course I have my full complement of planes from the Hornet and the Enterprise taking on, of course, the enemy's fighter planes trying to defend their aircraft carriers. So whenever you have a air-to-air battle like this, Japan does have target determination whenever that goes on. So let's see which each one of these fighter planes are going to go after. So the first one is going to go after one of my torpedo planes. So the Kaga will go after one of the torpedo bombers from the Hornet. The fighter group from the Hiryu rolls a 10, and they will be going after, let's see, they will be going after a dive bomber group. So they'll go ahead and go after the one there from the Hornet as well. And then last but not least, the fighter group from the CBL Zuyohu rolls a 5, and that means their target determination is also a torpedo bomber group, so they'll go after the other one there. So they're obviously ignoring our fighters and trying to get after some of the bomber groups. So I'll go ahead and have my Hornet and Enterprise go after the 2 Japanese fighter groups there, try to shoot them down and eliminate them. So here we go. So combat is simultaneous. So we'll have the Japanese fighter planes open fire first, needing 4 or less. Ooh, there's a hit, and I just mark it with a die just to make it easy. Ooh, the second one was a 5 though. They actually missed. And then the Zuyohu fighter group, they got a hit as well too. All right, now in defense, here we go. So I've got my Hornet fighter group. Whoops! Oh, that was bad. Oh man, I hope that's not any kind of foreshadowing. I had a die hop out of the dice tower and it just scattered all my planes on the Saratoga and the Lexington. Yeesh, that's the last thing I need. So let's try this again. So the Hornet group, yes. They got a hit. And the other one that's being attacked with a defense factor. Oh, look at that. It's a 1. 2 hits on those guys. Then, of course, my other one here, I have a fighter group. They missed. And the bomber group that the Japanese are attacking, they missed 2 because they only have a 1 for defense. And then over here, the Enterprise's torpedo group totally missed 2. So after this opening round of combat, let's go ahead and adjust our fighting here and stuff. So the Kaga fighter group has been completely destroyed. So that's awesome. It goes in the eliminated box there. The U.S. did take a hit on the one group, and that, of course, completely eliminates it. And then over here, the other one is completely eliminated as well. So that leaves us with this one other battle here to do in the middle and see who's going to come out on top with that aerial combat there. And again, oddly enough, aerial combat keeps going and going and going. Everything else is limited. And that was confirmed, I think on ComSim World, that was brought up. So, here we go. The fighter group from the Hiryu. They rolled a 5, so they missed. That's good. Alright. My Wildcat from the Enterprise. A Wildcat did growl. There it is. Boom. And then the opponent defending. Oh, missed. So the U.S. got a hit. Flipping that over, but we keep going. Because again, the Japanese, of course, are trying to destroy our attack planes, trying to preserve their integrity, obviously, if they can. They missed with a 6. My Hornet missed. My defending group missed. Okay. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do to kind of speed this up. And I do this from time to time. I end up using, I'll just show you here. I end up using different colored dice. So I'm going to use the red one for the Japanese fighter group, and then I'll use the green for the U.S. fighter group and the brown for the bomber group. So I can roll them all at once, because again, it's simultaneous damage. Let's see. Ooh, good news and bad news. Bad news is they shot down my group. Oh, actually no, they only damaged the dive bomber group. Okay. The good news is we were able to shoot down the Japanese fighter group as well. Alright, so now what's left of the U.S. attacking group can go ahead and make its bombing run. Here, so let's get them on rolling on here. So I've got 2 Dauntless dive bomber groups. Now the question is, do I want to get greedy or do I want to make sure I hit something? I'm going to put 1 on each. I'm going to put 1 on the Kaga and 1 on the Hiryu. So let's start with that first. Let's see what we get here. So my dive bombers going after the Kaga, we need 2 or less. Boom! Yes! It's a 1. So that does score a hit. And then we've got my dive bombers from the Enterprise going after the Hiryu. Yeah, another hit. Now, it's not over yet though. Once you get a hit, then you have to roll on the hit table to see just how much damage that you managed to get. So come over here to the table, and it's on the bottom of the map. I won't move the thing over, so that way you can see everything that's going on here. So going up against the CVLs, I need 1 to 3 for damage, 4 to 6 for elimination. So let's see what I got. Ah, it's a damage result. Curses! So, that was only damaged. And the other one, come on, baby. Boom! 4 to 6. Bye-bye, Mr. Hiryu. Going down to Davy Jones' locker. So that was a good shot there. Alright, so the Japanese ships are damaged and 1 is sunk. So, the damaged one, the Kaga, we'll put it in the damaged units box, and we'll get to that when we get to the logistics phase later. And the Hiryu is completely sunk with its aircraft with it. So that actually worked out well. Good. I made that good strong strike that I wanted. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I move those, I forgot to do my anti-aircraft job here. So let's do the anti-aircraft thing, because again, combat simultaneous, so you really should leave everything alone until you actually roll all those dice. So let me do that again. So here we go. Okay, so I've got 1 with a 2 or less. They missed. I got the big Hiryu with a 3 or less. They missed. And then I've got the 2 destroyer groups, and again, or the destroyer and the CVL group there. Top number is the number we're looking at here, and they both missed 2. So, a very successful strike on the Japanese. So again, Kaga damaged. The Hiryu was completely eliminated. So the battle there went very, very well against the 2nd carrier striking force up there in the Aleutians, losing the big carrier. So, try to find the Zuiho, there they go, to land them back, and then I'll take these US planes and land them back where they belong too. So I'm going to go ahead and move them back to the US carrier and get them landed, including the one damaged one, back on the Hornet and the Enterprise, and then I'll refocus the whole camera stand at that point. So let me go ahead and move everybody here now. And whoops, gotta zoom back up. Sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that little bit of blurriness there for a second. So, okay, now, so that was the U.S. airstrike. So now I can move task force if I want. And since the Japanese did take a bit of a hit up there in the north, I don't know if they'll retreat or not. We'll have to wait and see. They only lost the 1 carrier. And that's another thing that was an issue, that was a question, was, so when the Japanese get hit, why shouldn't they have to do their morale test whenever they get hammered too, as well as on their own turn when they had that step about the morale? Yeah, that's a good question. So, I usually do it both. So, we'll take care of that here in a second. Now, the Japanese only lost 1 carrier. So, with the morale test, they will roll a die, add 1, and see. Okay, if it's greater than the number of Japanese carriers, CVLs, etc., damaged in that route, then there is no effect. But if it's less than or equal to, then we have to bring that back. Okay, so it's less than. So it's +1, so basically we're looking at a 1. So there's a good chance they're still going to be coming. Oh, well, 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 it is a 1. So let's take a look and see what the consequences of that are now. So, all Japanese task forces anywhere in the same route have to be returned to their home base where they came from. So, they're going to pull back. Apparently that shot losing the Hiryu and having the Kaga damaged was a serious shot to them, which is good for me because now that they retreated, I'm going to go ahead on my movement phase here, and I'm going to move Task Force 16 1, 2, 3 spaces back to Alaska, now that we turn them back and get them down south, because again, as I said at the beginning of the video, we've got some activity going on down here at Port Moresby. Okay, so now I can go ahead and rebase things if I want, the bombers and the fighters and things like that. I think we're good on that one there. Repair air units, I can go ahead and choose, I believe, only 1. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and select the Enterprise's air unit. Let's see if it can get repaired. It's a 4, and it can. So it is a bomber unit, which means it automatically goes back on the 4 space, moderate damage. Fighters automatically go on the 3 space. Okay. So withdraw damaged air unit. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I need those guys for combat. Eliminate. Repair. I don't have to repair anything there. So we're down to the end of turn step, which brings these planes back into the game on the west coast. So again, I'll try to get that fighter group stationed out to someplace where I need it next turn. And that moves this group forward to light damage. And that's the end of that turn. Oh, nope. I have to flip this covering force. That's the very last thing that one does. Okay, now, here's the problem with what just happened, though. The problem is this. I already know what the next chit is, because I did hit a 6 on my last roll on the intelligence. So let me show you. The problem is this. The new chit marker here is Yamamoto. Now, Why is that such a big deal? Because Yamamoto is one of those special ones that the Japanese have in the game. And what it means is this. Excuse me. So both the Aleutian and the Midway routes are activated. Conduct operations with all the task force and islands on both routes, normally starting with the Aleutian route. So those Japanese ships may have went sailing back, but now they're going to come back anyway. So yeah. All right. Well, you know, hey, that's the way it goes. So let's get through the operation step with the Aleutians, and then we'll do the Midway one, and then I think we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and close out this video with some final thoughts. Because I think I've covered the different aspects of this game pretty well, at least enough to give you a good idea if you think you'd like to pick this up or not. And I always think it's important to consider carefully magazine games, because magazine games, in my personal experience, they really can be a lot of hit and miss ones out there. There are some magazine games that I think I have that are even better than some box games I have, but magazines can be hit and miss. So I think a lot of the time in the future here I'm going to spend on doing some of my magazine games in my collection, so that way you can see them played and then you can decide whether you want to pick them up or not. So at this point, let's go ahead and activate here. So spotting. Well, there's no spotting on the Aleutian line because they're way back. So let's go ahead and let's get them on the move here again. So we'll roll for the carrier force, the main body, and the invasion force. Everybody turned back. They got back to base. And then Yamamoto, I guess, was like, why are you here? So everybody's heading back. So here we go. Carrier task force is only going to move one space. Can't say I blame them. They only got one carrier left. The main body is going to launch out 2 spaces. I don't know if they're going to try and slip by, if they are glad that if they found out I did move that task force. I might want to get a surface group up there to engage some of these guys. If I can get away with surviving airstrike, because again, it's only this Ryohu that's left up there. And then the invasion force also moved out 2 spaces, so maybe they're going to try and slip by up there. I don't know for sure. Can't say. All right. Now, of course, the real action here, we'll go ahead and zoom in. The real action is going to be here. It's going to be at Midway Island. So, because everything else in the Aleutian one, I mean, the U.S. reaction step, I can't really do anything because nobody's within range. There's nothing else that really needs to be done with the Aleutian line, because again, they're just kind of, they rebooted, if you will, to use that term. So, spotting attempt by the Japanese. Now, the main body is within 3 spaces, but it doesn't have any airplanes. So the carrier strike force is there, so they can go ahead and deal with Midway if they wish to go ahead and launch airstrikes. So again, it's kind of interesting how this kind of parallels history at times. So the task force, of course, have to move first, but notice the spotting attempt comes first. So let's go ahead and get these task force moving here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the one that's furthest to the east and just do them in order that way. And we'll see who's going to be where. See if that invasion force is going to be closing in and trying to sneak in there or not. Alright, so the main body force, rolled a 1. So the main body, not surprising, only moving 1 space, but they are closing fast there. The carrier strike force rolled a 2. They actually moved 2 spaces with that. And again, I don't know what's there, but I can surmise that there must be a couple of big carriers there. Although I have seen the Kaga and the Shukoku. I've also seen a lot of CVLs. So I bet there's at least 2 big CVs with that particular group. The invasion force, with a roll of 3, actually moved 2 spaces too. Whew. They're closing big time. And then this guard force also moved 2 spaces. So they actually got their rears in gear. And they are closing in now too. So now the Japanese can go ahead and launch an airstrike against the island of Midway and basically try to pound it, because I don't think I have any fighters. Yeah, I don't have any fighters that I can put up in the air here. I don't have anything that I can use to protect any of that with. So, So let's go ahead and let's get these Japanese forces launched. Now, the bombers at Wake Island will be able to be part of this too. So again, since the carrier strike force has not been revealed, we'll do one big, one little for the time being. So again, that'll be a 2 and a 1 along with this big bomber here. All right, since there's no air-to-air to worry about because there's no fighters, so we got the 2. It missed. And we got a couple of 1s. And they missed as well. Okay. And then the Midway forces firing back totally missed as well. So I may have to launch that strike against Midway here shortly. I could have done that if I had wanted to. I could have attempted to spot one of those forces, but I just feel like those fighter planes would probably rip us apart. So I'm kind of holding off on that until I can get my own task force ready to put its planes up, because as far as the Japanese know, it's not there. Alright. There's no mutual combat, there's no amphibious, morale step's not an issue. Now we do have the logistics to deal with, since this is the first turn that we've had all this going on here. Alright, so let's take a look here. Okay, in the damage box. Alright, so we got to roll 6-sided die because we do have the Kaga that was in the damage box. So let's see what happens with the Kaga. I rolled a 6. Let's see, repair table. Let's see, die roll for repair. Well, what do you know? Actually, it did come up a 6. Huh. Well, well, well. In the immortal words of James Brown, well, well, well. Alright. Repair result. Okay. So then random deployment to where the naval unit will be assigned. So let's see where the Kaga is going to go. Where's the Kaga? Interesting. The Kaga okay, well, interesting here. So the Kaga is going to be deployed with the MO operation. So that would indicate it's going down with the covering force. So it seems like the Japanese are really going to push down there. So that was the damaged unit. And now let's take a look here and see. Now we have to try and repair a damaged air unit on the map. Well, there is one at Rabaul, so that's kind of bad because the Kaga really could have used one of their planes being pulled up. So let's see what happens here. It was a 6 on the repair, so it will go ahead and fix that. So at Rabaul they'll be ready to roll here. Actually, one of the Japanese eliminated units was Hiryu, and of course the Hiryu is on the bottom of the ocean right now. Excuse me. Okay, so then that brings it over to the U.S. phase here. So, Yamamoto got a lot of work done, but this ain't over yet, of course, not surprisingly. So let's come back out here and take a look at the big picture as I get ready to do the U.S. phase here. So reinforcements, I don't have any reinforcements left. Did I combine task force, place new task force? I don't really need to do anything with that right now. Spotting, so I can go ahead and attempt to spot. So Task Force 17 is going to try and spot that carrier force. And they did spot them. So, to kind of finish off this video here, let's move this over here. Let's go up here to the top. Let's zoom in on that first carrier strike force. And you can see, as I see, what in the wide world of sports is there. So here we go. You ready? I'll back it out a tiny bit. There we go. So what is on the first carrier strike force that we just spotted? My arm's in the way, probably, isn't it? Yeah. Alright, let's start here. Oh, another deception marker. And a light cruiser force. And the big ones, there are 4. There is the Honshu, the Zuikaku, the Akagi, and the Shoho. So 2 CVLs and 2 CVs. Well, that sounds about right. So that is what I'm going to have to contend with now here. And of course, that's what I'm going to be targeting here in a little bit. Alright, so I spotted that. Now I can use my land-based air to try and spot and see what's in the main body too. So let's go see what's in the main body. No luck, it was a 6. That's a bummer. Otherwise, I might have lost my aircraft from Midway Island to deal with the main body if I knew what was in there. So now that I know what's in the Carrier Strike Force, I'm going to launch my planes from Task Force 17 and go after those big carriers. That will definitely be happening. Now before that happens, I'm going to go ahead and do one last time the signals attempt. Let's see if you got anything. And the answer is no. Close. We got a 5. Okay, now I'm going to end here because now we're going to get back into an airstrike step, which of course you've already seen, and about to see what's going to happen here off Midway Island. So just some final thoughts here as I zoom back out and look at the game here. Overall, to me, this game falls into that category of what I like to call from time to time. This is the kind of game that I will play from time to time. It's not one that's going to maybe come out necessarily every year, but probably it'll come out every time that I'm in the mood for Pacific Theater of Operations, which I don't know about the rest of you, but I seem to go through waves, to be honest. So right now I'm on a Pacific Theater wave. I'm riding a wave, no pun intended, out in the Pacific. I've been doing Pacific Theater games, I think, almost since the beginning of the month. So like almost the last month I've been doing this. This happened last year too. A little earlier in the year I just went wild with the Pacific Theater of Operations. So I like the game in the sense that, you know, you don't know where the Japanese are coming. You don't know what's going to happen next. You have to react and move your forces around and stuff. And I mean, that is quite frankly, to be honest, to me, that's the biggest appeal of the game. Because once you find them, then it basically turns into a carrier battle. It's kind of like Fires of Midway. You know, who's going to be firstest with the mostest? You know, who's going to find who? Marco Polo kind of thing. And, you know, that's fine because that's what happened. So there are a few minor quibbles with the game. There's a few things that, on the rules, I'll be honest, I may not have followed them to the exact letter, but I like my way of doing it, and in my experience playing the game, it keeps things, I don't think it throws the balance off. I think it still makes it an extremely competitive game and an interesting game. So, you know, in that respect, I mean, it's just like anything else, I guess. You know, if you're not happy with how the game flows, then try your own adjustments. You know, give it a shot. And if it doesn't completely unbalance the game and make a mess of it, then why not? Or perhaps more importantly, if you're still happy and you're having a good time, hey, I mean, that's what you bought it for, right? Was to do that. Unless, of course, you're into completely historical accuracy, but that's another topic for another time, so I won't get into that right now. So, again, this is kind of the time-to-time category. This is one of the better magazine games I've seen in a while, quite frankly. I'm looking forward to, there's supposed to be another one coming out here, I believe, later this year, covering the Central Pacific as the U.S. counterattacks across. So I will pick that up because I'm pretty sure it's based on the same system. I think I read that somewhere. So, again, overall, I would say that if you like Pacific Theater of Operations and you like this style of game, and if you like solitaire games, I think this is worth picking up. I think it's as much fun as, say, The Hunters or Silent War or A Target for Today. It's as much fun as any of those solitaire games, in my opinion. Carrier, obviously, is a better game than this, but, I mean, Carrier is kind of an elite game, in my opinion. It's one that's kind of like heads and shoulders above most other games. So I'll close this episode by just basically saying that I'm going to keep moving on the Pacific Theater games here and trying to find something here that I can use. So give me 1 second. I'll make an adjustment here because what I'm going to do next, the next video that I'm going to do is going to cover Asia Engulfed, which is another game that a lot of people who like Pacific Theater and Strategic, they basically think this game is the game, the bee's knees, if you will. So I've read the extended example of playing the rules, and I'm intrigued enough to give it a shot. I already have my own favorite game on the Pacific Theater, but it takes a while to play. I'm hoping Asia Engulfed will be a little bit shorter. and in that sense be easier to play too. But I'm also evaluating another game along those lines, and that game that I've kind of tinkered around with and stuff, and still kind of doing some solo stuff with, is this one here, the Pacific War Pearl Harbor to the Philippines. So we'll see about that one too. And then of course, as you all know from my other videos, I've already been messing around with the Greater East Asia Coast Prosperity Sphere, which I enjoy as well. And I guess since I brought it up, let me just show you real quick. To me, my favorite game, strategic game of the Pacific Theater of World War II, is this one, Across the Pacific. So that's definitely my favorite. I've enjoyed that game a lot, but it is so big. It's ginormous, and it takes a lot of time to set up and play through. But if you really want to do an excellent and intriguing simulation, yeah, simulation more than game, that's what I would go with. So go ahead and finish off this episode here. So this is Tim Korchnoi from Bare Bones Wargaming, saying we'll see you next time with Asia Engulfed, which I'm sure I'll probably make quite a few mistakes in the rules and stuff, but again, part of the reason I shoot these videos is to, to share. So hey, if I make a mistake, somebody can point it out, and hey, it'll help somebody else play the game correctly. Shoot, it'll help me play the game correctly. And hey, I have no qualms about that, and I have no reservations. Everybody makes mistakes. That's the way it goes. Nobody's perfect. No one. It doesn't work that way. So, off my soapbox there. Firmly back on the ground. So next time will be Asia Engulfed. Tim Korchnoi, Bare Bones Wargaming, wishing you victory in your games and fun as always. So I'll see you next time. Not sure exactly when. It might be a few days with Asia Engulfed.